Prepare to be captivated by two true dramatized stories of Bigfoot encounters that blur the line between reality and legend. Steve Sanders' account. It was July 1965, and my buddies Tom, Harry, and I decided to camp out at Blue Lake near Bluff Creek, California. We arrived in the afternoon, set up our tent, and spent the day fishing and swimming. That night, after sharing stories around the campfire, we settled into our tent, the sounds of the forest easing us into sleep.
In the middle of the night, I woke up to a rustling sound.
I nudged Tom and Harry awake.
We saw a large finger or stick lifting the tent flap.
I shouted, and whatever it was withdrew, followed by heavy footsteps retreating into the darkness.
The next morning, we decided to investigate. Around our tent, we found enormous footprints, 17 inches long and 7 inches wide. The size of those prints was unnerving. We took photographs and made sketches, determined to document what we'd found. Back in Willow Creek, we shared our story, and an elderly man named Gus told us about similar tales of Bigfoot sightings. It felt reassuring to know we weren't the only ones who had experienced something like this. Then one evening, a guy named Jason Edwards approached me.
He said his parents had a similar experience while hunting in Bluff Creek in 1965. They saw a family of 4 Bigfoot, 2 adults, a medium-sized one, and a smaller one.
His parents, John Edwards, Marks, and Titmus, had watched the creatures from a distance, careful not to provoke them. Jason's story had striking similarities to ours. Both involved large humanoid creatures and distinct footprints. This motivated us to dig deeper into the Bigfoot legend. Years later, sitting by a campfire on another expedition, I reflect on our journey. The encounters, the evidence, and the friendships have defined a significant part of my life. Whether we find definitive proof or not, the search has been worth it.
The legend of Bigfoot endures, inspiring new generations.
For Steve and me, the search is a journey into the unknown, driven by the desire to explore and understand the world. As the sun rises over Bluff Creek, we know the adventure is far from over. The wilderness holds many more secrets waiting to be discovered. In June 1962, Fort Bragg, California was a quiet, sleepy town by the rugged coast. Robert Hatfield's account. Life here was predictable: fishermen at dawn, loggers in the woods.
On a particularly calm night, I lay in bed, the gentle sound of waves almost lulling me to sleep. The only disturbance was the occasional bark from my dogs outside. I was nearly asleep when the barking grew louder. My dogs, usually calm, were now in a frenzy. I got up, put on my slippers, and quietly moved to the window. Under the moonlight, I saw my dogs near the fence, their fur bristling. Something unusual was out there. The barking dogs.
I was nearly asleep when the barking grew louder.
My dogs, usually calm, were now in a frenzy. I got up, put on my slippers, and quietly moved to the window.
Under the moonlight, I saw my dogs near the fence, their fur bristling. Something unusual was out there. As I approached the fence, I heard rustling. S5. Determined to investigate, I grabbed my flashlight and went outside. The night air was cool.
Swinging the flashlight around, I saw it. A creature's head and shoulders towering above the 6-foot fence, its eyes glowing faintly in the light.
Panicked, I sprinted back to the house.
"Bud, get up!" I shouted.
Bud Jensen, my old friend, stumbled out, rubbing sleep from his eyes.
"There's something out there," I gasped. "It's huge. I think it might be a Bigfoot."
Without hesitation, Bud grabbed his shotgun and we rushed outside, but the creature was gone. Bud handed me the flashlight and clutched his shotgun. My heart pounding, I edged around the corner of the porch.
Suddenly, I was face to face with the creature. Massive, covered in dark fur, its eyes intelligent and almost human.
Before I could react, it moved, knocking me to the ground. I scrambled backward, breathless. Bud saw the creature pass by the window.
He ran to close the door, but the creature held it open.
"Let it in and I'll get it," Bud shouted.
But then the creature released the door and walked away.
Shaken, we found a muddy handprint on the door, 11.5 inches long with stubby fingers.
We couldn't make sense of what had happened and decided to keep the incident to ourselves. As dawn broke, Bud and I sat in the kitchen, a pot of coffee growing cold.
Years passed, and the memory of that night became a whispered legend in Fort Bragg. The muddy handprint remained etched in our minds. In 1977, Fort Bragg had grown but retained its charm. One evening, a local named J.S. heard frantic barking along Little Lake Road.
The barking was accompanied by a heavy bipedal creature crashing through the woods. I saw a large, dark figure moving quickly through the underbrush.
The next day, J.S. returned to the spot and found several disemboweled animals.
Horrified, I reported my findings to the authorities.
Whispers of Bigfoot began circulating again, rekindling old fears. Word of J.S.'s encounter reached Bud and me. The news stirred memories we had long tried to forget. The details mirrored our own experience from years ago. We met at my house, the same place where we first encountered the creature.
Do you think it's the same creature?
Bud nodded.
It has to be.
Determined to uncover the truth, Bud and I decided to investigate.
We gathered flashlights, cameras, and Bud's shotgun.
We planned to search the woods where J.S. had heard the creature, documenting any evidence we could find. On a clear evening, we set out, our nerves on edge.
The forest was dense and shadowy.
We followed J.S.'s described path, moving cautiously.
Hours passed with little more than animal tracks and broken branches.
Just as we were about to call it a night, we heard a low growl. We froze, scanning the darkness with our flashlights. Suddenly, a pair of glowing eyes appeared, watching us.
The creature stepped into the light. Once again, we were face to face with Bigfoot. Bud raised his shotgun, but I stopped him. Wait, let's see what it does.
The creature stood still, its eyes reflecting curiosity and caution. It made no move to attack, simply watching us.
After what felt like an eternity, it turned and disappeared into the woods.
We decided to follow it, hoping to uncover more about its behavior. We tracked the creature to a small clearing. In the center was a shelter made of branches and leaves.
Inside, we found bones, berries, and various plants. It was clear the Bigfoot was a creature of remarkable skill and intelligence.
Satisfied with our findings, we returned home, our minds racing with new questions.
We had seen the creature up close, observed its habitat, and gathered enough evidence to convince even the most skeptical minds.
Word of our discovery spread quickly through Fort Bragg. Our detailed documentation provided a comprehensive account of our encounter.
The story reignited interest in the Bigfoot legend, drawing researchers and enthusiasts to the area.
Our journey into the unknown became more than a personal quest. It inspired a new generation of believers. The mystery of Bigfoot endured, fueling endless curiosity and exploration. Thank you for joining us on this eerie journey through the Bigfoot encounters of Fort Bragg and Blue Lake. If you enjoyed these chilling tales, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel for more spine-tingling stories, and don't forget to click the bell icon to be notified whenever we post new content. Stay curious, stay safe, and keep an eye out for the unknown.